That's really what it's about. So the next step is either the Fed comes in and lends them the money to lend out, or they don't do it at all. And I think that the administration wanted a combination of money from the legislature, a new stimulus package,
yes,
hopefully maybe $400 or $500 billion. And incidentally, in January this year, I said they need $2 trillion. And I said they'll be back for more because they figured it out. And the $787 billion wasn't enough, even with the TAR program going
that
into
was
the
scratched it. You know, it's the same thing as the war in Iraq. When we went in there in March many years ago, they were talking about $85 billion, and they made it seem like that was all we were going to spend. And I knew they were going to keep coming back for more and more and more. And they are. It's the same with this kind of bailout money, isn't it?
Well, Larry Summers was fired because he said it cost $200 billion, if you remember.
Yes.
I projected $1 trillion, the trillion to $1.3 trillion by the time they get in and get out.
Right.
And I was close. And like you say, you just know that they can't do it with the numbers they say they have. And then you wonder why politicians do what they do. And, of course, there's a lot of other interests pulling at them that make things that are used in warfare, like Halliburton and companies like that. And so there's a big profit motive there as well.
A guy has a $10,000 line of credit on his credit card. He's run it up to around $5,000. He goes and pays the $5,000 off, Robert. Lo and behold, he checks the old credit card, and his line has been cut down to $5,000. This is happening all over the country. People who have good payment records, people who are paying, they're getting nipped too. How come?
Again, because the banks are afraid they're going to get more bad debt. They obviously see more clearly what is going to happen in the future. They've been stung very badly. The credit card failures are running anywhere between 10 and 13%.
That's huge,
and
isn't it?
It's huge. Yeah, they usually run around 1 or 2%. And they're just running around in circles saying, how can we save ourselves? And, people, what they should be doing, and they are, and I'm happy to see that, they are reducing their debits on their credit cards, and they're saving money, which is something which had not been prevalent for some years.
Mm-hmm.
And so the attitude of people is changing. But in order to make the system function, there has to be borrowing, there has to be seed money, and a lot of the money that's been, as we discussed earlier, that's been provided by the Fed has been used to be gambling in the market. They've made money, so it's not bad. But the problem is they're not creating any jobs.
No, not at all. Not at all.
I'm doing figures here this morning before we get on the air, and there's something that I've been complaining about for years, and it's called the birth-death ratio. And what that is in unemployment statistics, the government guesses at how many jobs were gained or lost in small business. Uh-huh. And if you take the U6 figure, which is U 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 added together, and that would include short-term unemployment, which is now supposedly 10%. All the people who are no longer collecting checks from the state for unemployment, all the people who are forced to work part-time, that's 33.1 hours a week on average, and the people who are discouraged, if you extract them from that figure, the U6 official figure is 17.2% unemployment, you come up with 21.9%. And 2 days ago, I got figures that the government has now admitted that they have overstated the number of jobs created by the birth-death ratio at about 855,000. And that makes the difference between the unemployed being 7.2 million $8 million. I mean, this is incredible.
It's huge.
And then the same thing is happening, and this is very important, in the PPI, Producer Price Index, and more importantly, in the CPI, the Consumer Price Index.
Mm-hmm.
And they just came up with a figure, recent figure yesterday, of inflation of 2.4%. My figures show 7.12%. Now, if what I think is going to happen happens with the TARP money and other things, they've got $12.7 trillion lent down into the world economy, never mind the U.S. This is the Fed and the Treasury. We're going to have much higher inflation this coming year.
Absolutely. Maybe double digits.
Probably around 14%.
Yeah. Jeez.
And that would be a doubling from current levels.
What's your projection, Robert, on fourth quarter retail spending during the holiday season?
I think it would have gone up about 0.5% and maybe as much as 1.5%. The high end is what's killing it. The stores that have the better quality items, they're up 25-30%, and rightly so. The honeymoon's over.
The honeymoon is over. And can we ever get married again?
Well, I think that Americans have to come to terms with the fact that their country is bankrupt, and nobody wants to tell them that. And
they all did this to us.
Pardon me?
They all did this to us. It wasn't just one president's fault, was it?
No. It started on August the 15th, 1971, when the U.S. government went off the gold standard, and it's degenerated since. If a family had a husband working, he could support the family at that time. Now we need the husband and wife working to accomplish the same thing.
Yeah. Or just to get by. Not
just
even
to
support.
Get by.
Yeah. Absolutely.
I mean, a young couple today in their 30s with 2 or 3 children, making joint income of, let us say, $50,000 a year, are in a terrible spot. I mean, their medical care alone has to be running around $1,200 a month.
Let's talk a little bit about the health care when we come back, Robert. We'll also open up the phone lines. We just have Robert Chapman for just 30 more minutes. His website, theInternationalForecaster.com, and he is right on the button. Just an excellent addition to the economists here at Coast to Coast AM. We'll be back with your phone calls on Coast to Coast AM.